Hi, it's me, Ranjit. If you enjoyed this episode, I request you to leave us a review. This will help us to reach more great podcast listeners like you. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to FS Brew. FS Brew is the region's first podcast focusing on all things insurance and InsurTech here in the UAE and the wider Middle East. I'm Vidya, I'm the founder of Forward, a startup that works with insurance companies to build a go-to-market digital proposition.
I'm Ranjit Philip. I work in Future You Strategy Group, which is a boutique consulting firm where I work on M&A, funding, and go-to-market support for startups and tech companies. Vidya, in today's episode, we have with us Arijit Chakraborty, who is the Managing Director APAC for CoverGenius. In his role, he is responsible for spearheading the InsurTech's insurance and commercial partnerships and leading the regional teams across the region, Singapore, India, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Philippines. I think pretty much all the big markets there.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a ton of experience. He's worked in senior leadership roles, global insurers like Manulife and Zurich, and he has been involved in the startup ecosystem. So it's been a very interesting conversation, and we hope you enjoy it. Hi, welcome to FS Brew. It's great to have you with us today.
Hi, Ranjit. Thanks for having me here.
Perfect. So we'll start with the traditional question that we ask all our guests, and that the question is, how did you get into a career in insurance? And we're also interested in your sort of career choices and the decision-making process behind it.
Okay. Thanks, Ranjit. The short answer that how did you come? I came to insurance was by accident. I pursued law as my education. I did my master's in law from National University of Singapore. And I became a M&A lawyer with Temasek Holdings, which you know, it's a sovereign wealth fund of Singapore. I was the only foreign M&A lawyer with them. So it was a job where I was always out of Singapore traveling. And it came to a life point where I was getting married, wanted a job which I'll be based out of Singapore rather than traveling all the time. And I started looking out at what's there in the market. And went to everyone, like from pharmaceuticals, oil and gas, e-commerce. That time e-commerce was really new, but insurance, banking, everywhere. And someone thought of giving me a chance into insurance. So that's how insurance happened to me. I went in as a general counsel, heading legal and compliance in insurance thing, then rose up the corporate ladder quite fast, was a part of senior management with companies like Zurich and Manulife. Manulife was my last corporate role. And then it triggered to me that whole world is innovating, but insurance, conventional insurance business is where it is, right? We were copying each other's products. There is not much of innovation. And that's where I'm talking this about 7-8 years back, blockchain and everything to the forefront, AI started getting talked about. And I felt that if I'm not going and seeing and exploring the other side of the world, I'm very comfortable, but I might be isolated or not relevant in a few years. And that's the reason was a big decision at that point of time. I left my senior management corporate role to pursue my own consulting. So I started a legal and management consulting from VCs and got an opportunity of building InsurTech businesses. So that's how I came to the space from corporate lawyer to senior management in insurance, and then happened to be, I call myself a semi-entrepreneur, like kind of the first executive building InsurTech businesses.
Perfect. This is the answer we get from a lot of people, except probably actuaries, that they really didn't choose insurance as their first kind of port of call, but they went into it and they're happy with it now. So it's interesting.
Let's actually risk to InsurTech at that point of time would have the risky thing. Now everyone is obviously okay with getting into an InsurTech organization. But CoverGenius is an OG InsurTech startup back. But for the listeners who may not fully know what CoverGenius does, can you explain what it does? What its kind of typical customers? How do you do the business?
Sure. Thanks, Vidya. So CoverGenius, we are global leaders when it comes to embedded protection. We cover global customers of world's largest digital companies. So you check OTAs like Booking.com, Agoda, Skyscanner, Make My Trip, and all lots, and also a lot of airlines. In the same of e-commerces, we partner with Amazon, eBay, Shopee in this region, Flipkart in India. So again, a wide spectrum of clients. What we do is we co-create insurance and warranty solutions on the platform of these large distribution players and do our API integration. Our API integration powers multiple products and multiple markets at the same time. And then we package the risk. We work with underwriters at the back, and we launch a product onto the platform with those distribution partners. At the back, our entire claims and payments are all automated. So the end-to-end insurance value chain sits on a platform which we call Xcover, and that's how we launch programs globally with all these large distribution partners.
So the underwriters look into the reinsurer would be looking at the risk side of things, bringing in the front insurer for whatever regions you got opt in, and Genius does the entire stack. And
just to clarify, we do the entire value chain ourselves.
Oh.
So into the business development on getting a distribution partner on board. For example, if we take Agoda on board as an example, then we will co-create the product with Agoda. And that means we have API integration with them. We create the product, we create the risk, what we want to, it would be a tailor-made bespoke solution or risk for Agoda itself. Okay, what we don't do, which we're talking about, I will not take a XYZ conventional policy from underwriters and plug it to the Agoda platform. We actually create, so it's the other way around. So we co-create the risk, we package the risk, then we go to our supply options, what we have, which we work with pretty much all tier one underwriters and reinsurers in the world. Then we bring the risk to them, price the risk, and we manage the whole relationship. And it gets a bit technical in terms of data analytics and everything we throw into the whole relationship. And that's how we manage programs on a real-time basis. So we don't do what you narrated about getting existing policies and they do the supplying. We manage the end-to-end relationship for the partners.
Yeah, that was going to be my question as well. So it's a whole lot more than just the infra glue or anything like that.
Definitely.
Okay. Just going through sort of your background and what you narrated as well. You started out as a lawyer, then you went into an incumbent insurer, a couple of them, and now part of an InsurTech, being the MD of a large region. Now, obviously, there are cultural differences between incumbent insurers and InsurTechs. Was your previous experience an advantage or a hindrance? I'd love to know your kind of leadership style, how it has evolved.
I think for me, it's been an advantage, but I think what you're asking is how people can adopt from that insurance to InsurTech sort of a mindset. I think it needs an innovative mindset. Three aspects, I will say. You need to change your perspective towards how you look at insurance and how data is collected and processed in there. Then you're looking at whether you are someone who is in line with the innovation which is happening within the industry. And third is whether you're entrepreneurial by nature to build a particular business. And by entrepreneurial, I don't mean that you need to be a founder or someone is driving the company. Even though you are coming in a junior to mid-level InsurTech, you need to feel that you are an entrepreneur by heart in order to create a difference. Because here you will come in, unlike in a conventional business, you might be given a very fixed framework of operating. Here, when you are coming in, you are exposed to innovation. You are exposed to things where you're maybe pushing the boundaries a bit. You are looking at what all happening in the industry and adopting it to scale your business. And when you are scaling a business from 0 to 1, you need to come up with things which are non-standard. You have to push things. You have to break boundaries to go beyond. And that's, I think, the skill set and the attitude you need to come from a conventional background and go into the InsurTech, FinTech side. I'm like talking from an industry point of view. For me, this is what I wanted to explore, right? So I made a conscious choice of coming into the startup or a growth ecosystem because I saw that I wanted to do more business in terms of contributing to that. And I think my past legal background definitely helped. A lot of people perceive general counsel or corporate lawyers and see them as like someone who delays things and not doing a big business partnering model, for me, my style of working was very different. I was actually loved by the business when I was only doing a very core legal or general counsel role, given that I was always had the commercial mindset to me. So it was that skill set helped me, because then as an MD for the region, I'm not typical profile with maybe only sales as a key skill set where I go and sell anything. I know how to build a sustainable business where I can take of what is out there, how to do partnership, how to do product creation, how to manage the claims, and how to manage the whole regulatory aspect of the things. Because though we are doing InsurTech and we are not underwriters ourselves, but we also work in a completely regulated space. So understanding the governance behind it and how we manage the risk is a very core element of what we do in coaching.
Yeah, I think there's a number of points, take-off points from there. And I think I was just thinking, perhaps you would find it difficult to go back into an incumbent insurer with this mindset yeah. I think very good point that you raised about sustainability. Many times we see some of our fintech brethren in the news who kind of flirt with the rules and regulations to the point of breaking them. And ultimately, it's not about make things and break them. It's you've got to do things fast, but at the same time, be within the rules and regulations. So I think that's super important, right?
Absolutely. And that is something is core of our business. And I can share more lights on the compliance piece if you want, but that's a core part of the business. There is no point doing things which is in a matter of gray, because at the end of the day, you want to scale the company and be sustainable. Otherwise, you're not going anywhere with growth of the company.
Yeah. And because of the whole law mindset, you have a ninja advantage to navigate that and not and get through that for sure. Going back to Cover Genius business model itself, you did a light off it earlier, Arijit. If you get in deeper on it, how is it structured in terms of the business itself, divided into commercial lines or personal lines, or based on jurisdiction? And where is the money coming from? What is the revenue model and what's the monetization structure within the organization? Great to know that.
So I'll give a clarity on the business model. So what we work with, as I mentioned, large distribution players. So we co-create the product with them. We package the risk. We do the API integration, and at the end, we get underwriters to back the risk, right? So we do the end-to-end solution design, consumer journeys, content creation, API integration. The end-to-end insurance value chain sits on our platform, and everything works on a revenue sharing model. So unlike other insurance providers in the market, you will come across that there are a lot of SaaS providers who actually call for a fixed fee for usage of platform, or there is a minimum commitment on a monthly basis. We do not operate that way. We actually select what kind of distribution partners we work with, and we do the entire value chain, entire business on a revenue sharing model. So we succeed when our partners succeed. So that's how we come up with products and solutions which are tailor-made to the consumers of that platform. And we have to ensure those products people are buying and claiming at the same time, right? Because they need to experience a product. That's how more people buy it. It's more margin or more sort of GWP we get out of those platforms. And that's where we do revenue share with the partner. So that's a model which we utilize. On the claim side of things, everything is automated with us, whether it's automated claim servicing and payments. And that gives us world's leading NPS score, which we track post claims. And that's where we build the business overall, and we do the whole insurance value chain on the platform.
And these are typically opt-in, opt-out products, or
depends. So if you go to our verticals, and you asked about the vertical. One of our key verticals, I will put it in 4 legs. First is travel. We are very big on travel, whether it is across airlines, OTAs, and mobility. We have a lot of ride-hailing as our partners as well globally, whether it's Ola, Uber, and all these guys. Then comes to e-commerce. We work with both e-commerce, both online and offline retailers around the globe. Then it's logistics and fintech. So we have a lot of logistics as our partners. We cover goods in transit. And in fintech, whether we have a lot of buy now, pay later platforms and payment gateways as our clients. So these are the main 4 verticals we focus on and create that bespoke tailor-made insurance and warranty solutions in the same path. But sorry, you asked another follow-up question. What was that? So this is on
the whole monetization aspect of it. Where do you make the money? But you didn't mention.
So as I said, when we create the risk as insurance 101, you get a GWP, then is a claim, and whatever left with is underwriting profit, right? That's how sort of insurance works. So it works on a revenue sharing model. We sell on the platform to the consumers, and there is a percentage which claims out of that, and then is a revenue share, right? In terms of GWP and the claims of what we are getting at the back.
Yeah. Perfect. That gives us a good idea of the business model. And just getting back to what is in the news these days, a whole lot of noise and hopefully so about Gen AI. Yeah. So the question that we would love to ask is, how is Gen AI being used in Cover Genius? Or if you're not using it, how do you plan to use it?
I think AI is not a buzzword within Cover Genius. With a lot of industries, they're automating Excel and calling it AI. What we use AI and NLP, which is natural language processing, a lot in order to look at what are the products which are insurable. So take an example of, we are available on Amazon. So Amazon, we have thousands of or millions of products available there. And what our AI NLP helps to do is to scan all the SKUs and identify which are products which are insurable. And then you see the checkbox insurance of buying protection against a product available at the SKU, which is insurable. So giving an example, which actually we saw in the past with other partners, suppose you're buying barbecue for your own residence. That's an item which you can insure against a warranty. But if you're buying a charcoal for the barbecue pit, that is not insurable. But in the category for Amazon or other, you might get the same category because it falls under the barbecue ecosystem.
Right.
So your AI and NLP needs to be advanced enough to identify that I will show the product. When you are seeing a product discovery or barbecue station rather than the charcoal. So we use the AI NLP for the categorization of the product. Then lots are used on the pricing and product experimentation. So going back to the conventional business, and you have similar backgrounds where you will see that we used to give pricing to any client and revisit maybe after 6 months, 12 months to see how the program is doing. Right. Here we use AI and our data science to real-time monitoring of the programs. We know what is the attachment rate, what is the loss ratio, what are the different levers or parameters we can use in that product to make a better attachment rate. We know the data of when people are buying what, and come with pricing and product discovery or consumer journeys in a way that people actually convert. And at the end, people are claiming for it. So these are a lot of ways we, again, use AI to that. We also use that during our claims. We have moved a lot of our claims to be parametric by nature. Once you submit the claim, you get the real-time claims payout for that. Or we have reduced it, which used to take in logistics, used to take like 20, 30 days. We have reduced it to 2 to 3 days by making the full claims process very automated. Because when you are buying the policy, as we are API integrated with the partner, you don't have to fill up again a big form during your claim because we can extract all your information from your policy. So it's all pre-populated in your claims under X-Cover system. Then with again few buttons, you can initiate the claim. We can then use AI NLP to understand the claims better, and we also process the claims quite fast. So various value chain where we use these to make our operations more efficient.
Perfect. This is not new for you. You've been using it in and out for a long time, right? The non-sexy machine learning onwards to the IP. That's great.
Yeah. But also in the pricing piece, because in the sectors that you operate, prices also fluctuate, right? So you can't have static pricing going through. And that's where the whole AI really comes through to modulate based on the live pricing and whatnot.
Absolutely. Because the whole thing is dynamic. The pricing available on our distribution partners has also have become dynamic, right? If you're working with a OT, your flight and your hotel prices also differ. And you have to come up with product which also price. Suppose you're doing an example, a cancellation policy with your event tickets or with your ticketing and with your OTA. Then depending on when you are booking, it also has an influence on the pricing. If you're booking 6 months out, your chances of canceling the ticket is higher than if you're booking 2 weeks out, right? So you just cannot have, which we used to do in the past. You just cannot have a flat pricing and what these clients. It has to be dynamic. It has to be by machine learning and AI.
Passive. Awesome. Going towards the funding environment that we see for InsurTech, it's a little bit of a winter. Times are tough, but obviously there are some recoveries that we've seen in the recent past. There are some InsurTech are still getting the funding. From an APAC region, what are you seeing? I know what's bringing action and what's really gaining VC's interest.
So we are very hopeful and excited with the continued effort and the future of InsurTech. Yes, you are completely right, Vidya, that there is a funding winter. A lot of VCs and PEs are sitting on their cash and they are not deploying it. They're looking at right opportunities. Actually, this sort of economic downturn is also favorable sometimes in a way that a lot of companies who wants to differentiate only based on pricing and incentives cannot continue to build a sustainable business. So companies, because we a lot of people, as you guys know, try to get customers with a very high CAC by throwing incentives and marketing dollars. That is not a very sustainable business of going in these sort of times, at least. So in that case, you need companies which has created sustainable businesses like our Genius. And then we are very hopeful on the InsurTech and a kind of traction which we are getting in terms of interest is people who have built good businesses and people who actually has shown growth during these times are the people which are getting recognized by the investors. Even though the economic condition is bad, as a business have done well. We used to issue about 14 million policies 10 months back. Now we are hovering around 30 million policies in the last 10 months. So we have grown more than double. And if you can do that in an economic downturn, that shows that what's your growth potential, that creates sort of the investor confidence on it.
Okay. That's a tremendous growth. And it shows also that people with sustainable business models can always get funding from VCs. And earlier it was VC money was just going to subsidize the CAC, basically.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So the depth of this grows. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the Xcover platform a bit. I think that's very fascinating. Many InsurTechs just end up being distribution arms or customer acquisition funnels. And so you chose to do the end-to-end approach. So how does this whole thing work? We are very understand that it is involved, but there is an encounter somewhere in a geography, let's say like Malaysia, where you have a customer. How does that insurer pay directly to the customer through your platform? If you could go into the plumbing a bit.
Okay. So I'll give an example. Maybe I'll answer you with an example of an account, right? So again, insurance, as I mentioned, is regulated per country. Take another regional OTA as an example, whether it's Skyscanner, Agoda, or anyone. Now, you are originating from Singapore, Dubai, Thailand, Indonesia, whatever countries. Now, insurance needs to be comply with the local regulation. So, by the way, we are regulated in 60 plus countries and all 50 US states in terms of insurance distribution. In MGA as a concept you don't have that in APAC, but outside Asia, we are predominantly MGA, and that's how we operate our compliances. Now, coming to how it works with a distribution partner is Xcovered is a platform. So your buying experience, claims experience is consistent across wherever you're originating globally. But our Xcovered is sophisticated enough to understand that you are now originating from Jakarta. So you will get Indonesian insurance policy being issued to you. you're originated from Dubai, you get a UAE insurance policy issued to you. In India, you'll get an Indian insurance policy. So we created the platform in a way. And at the end, on the supply side, which supply means the underwriter, we created the infrastructure in a way that wherever you're originating, even though your buying and claims journey it's consistent, but you are from compliance point of view, you get the policy which is issued and governed by that country you're originating from. That's how we take care of the compliances. Then what you pay as your premium that we call as GWP, which is a gross written premium, that's again is shared between your distribution partners, cover engineers, and the supplier or the underwriter we work at the back. And that depends on what is a sale, what is a claim, what will the percentage between all parties. And that's how we work on a revenue sharing model.
And given that localization, then that local underwriter then pays the claim. But the thing is,
so the claims are, so we're coming to claims. I should have addressed that before. Coming to the claims, we ourselves actually does most of the time the claims assessment ourselves, given our X-Cover platform. We process the claims wherever it is permissible, right? In certain products, in certain markets, because you are not an underwriter, you cannot. That's how we work. We do a part of the claims assessment, give our finding to the underwriter, who then approves the claims. Most of the times we use our hyper wallet to pay out the payments to the customer. So generally to create, that's the reason we have the world leading NPS, is the claims and payments are automated at our end. Then at the end, we do a monthly reconciliation back to the underwriter. Most of the times we operate in the space where we control the value chain, and that's how we can control the consumer experience in there. And that's a result of the higher NPS of what we can get.
So much of it is actually straight through processing in terms of claims. So the customer doesn't know the complexity of the whole claims processing.
Yeah. So that's our main fundamentals, is to keep insurance and protection seamless and simple. So all the complexities of that is something which we control at the back, and I'll use the term maybe we have mastered in the sense of creating infrastructure, how we operate regionally and globally based on that.
Perfect. Very good.
They don't experience it. They don't experience long wait times or no responses or very archaic claims process. Throwing an example with one of the large Indian underwriters, I bought a travel insurance because my mom was traveling, and the buying experience was superb, right? Very easy buying experience. But when it came to the claim, I saw that I have to email someone with attachments and documents. Yeah. So they created the whole friction during the claims time. We don't operate that way. It's a whole end-to-end, the value chain is automated for us.
Awesome.
Yeah. It is somehow a sentiment that's across all insurers, across geographies, where they somehow don't look at claims as an experience to deliver to the customer.
Correct. Exactly. And this is something we see differently, because insurance is not buying an iPhone which you can touch, feel, and experience. You can only experience insurance when there is a claim, because it's a promise which you are selling. Give another example. When we were designing a product with Ola in our Australia, New Zealand market, you're familiar with the product which is available maybe in other parts of the region, where you're taking a ride hailing or taxi ride, you get only a covered against your death and disability. How many times you get a death and disability there? The propensity is very less. We created a product with Ola that we obviously cover the basic hygiene features, but we cover if you have lost your personal belongings or your handbag or a phone in the cab, is a personal accident, or you have taken the cab on time, but you still, because of traffic condition, you got delayed to go to the airport, you missed your flight, we actually pay for the flight. So there are components of that where a person will experience. So we have gone to that extent that even though you retrieve your personal belonging, which you have left in the Ola cab, in order to retrieve that, we also pay you a $40 for inconvenience, right? So we have created things that once you don't experience claims, why will you come back and buy again our insurance, right? So you have to experience the claim process, and we have to keep claims automated, simple, and seamless for people to understand so that they have the trust on insurance industry as such.
And that's
Great. Yeah, absolutely. When you look at the broader embedded insurance sector and the industry itself, it is supposed to be a multiple trillion opportunity, and everybody is now onto it. The understanding the depth of it. Where do you think are the biggest opportunities for embedded insurance players from your viewpoint? Where is it going toward?
I think embedded insurance is definitely the future. And there are different aspects of the insurance value chain, right? Embedded is definitely the future because I think insurance has been conventionally distributed through intermediaries, whether your bank insurance channels, broker channels, or your tied agency. Now, getting embedded insurance is also, and you look at the insurance penetration rates, right? A large country like India has a 4% penetration rate of insurance. So if you are getting insurance at the right time, at the right price, and you're covering your risk, that's where I think the insurance distribution is evolving. Okay. So I think we are scratching the surface. There's a lot more we can achieve out of the embedded insurance side. Where also I'm very fascinated with how data and IoT is utilized to go into more usage-based insurance. So if you look at what Tesla is doing with their insurance, you have so much data points of someone's profile, driving experience, and usage. You can actually model an insurance policy based on that, which is also a subset of embedded insurance, right? Because you are embedding it while you are buying a particular purchase. But it will evolve that if I'm buying a home, also the insurance is determined by the usage of the home. So everything I think will move towards the data-driven underwriting pricing, and which is in future it will be driven by AI and IoTs. I think that also will the future, which will power the embedded the value proposition much further.
You're right there on the IoT side. I think there's a lot coming up from tech point of view itself, and I think there's just so much more that we can do from an insurance perspective.
Yeah. And I think embedding just opens up that whole thing about, like you said, the point of need, and that helps to tap this ecosystem place where mobility ecosystem is multiple trillions of dollars. How can insurance be a part of all those touch points there? So
a lot of the who are dabbling in the embedded space, where they struggle is if they don't at booking.com as a client or an Agoda as a client, the ability to scale, the ability to be exactly where they are, although they might have a great tech, then it becomes a business issue as well. So it's a chicken and egg and lots of things to navigate.
for sure. Looking on a sort of diverse experience in launching these products, multiple geographies, the long career, what sort of advice would you give? And I think you did cover a few pieces of it. Would you give to insurance professionals who are aspiring to do a role in InsurTech? Where should they start? What should they learn or unlearn to succeed in InsurTech?
I think you use the right word, Ranjit, learn and unlearn, right? I think again, change of perspective is very important. You need to understand that when you are coming to an InsurTech, or you are in banking, you are coming to fintech or whatever, like you are coming into the tech ecosystem of disrupting. Disrupting is a very big word, but where it can help the conventional incumbent ecosystem. You need to have this entrepreneurial mindset and innovative mindset that you need to be open to. If someone has been, and I've seen that struggle of some individuals, if you are someone who works out of a very defined framework, the manager tells you what needs to be done, this is your project, this is something what you do, and these are all KPIs. For you to come into the startup ecosystem and InsurTech is difficult because you need to manage your days. You need to what you need to drive to be successful. So even though you're not a founder, you need to think that you are a founder in order to build that business, right? So the entrepreneurial mindset is very important. Second is your mindset to be open to new ideas. I've seen conventional underwriters struggling in InsurTech pricing because data science is reducing the dependence of actuaries. So the conventional way of pricing a product and underwriting product has evolved and changed a lot with data. So there's a lot you can do analyze this data better than your currently is done in a conventional space. So again, to underwriter, you're actually open to new ideas, open to how to assess a risk, open to be a fact that, okay, let me go into a partner with one X price.
Yeah.
Let's do a real-time experimentation with the product and pricing. Then I will see whether I need to change the product construct and the pricing.
Yeah.
What's the conventional thinking is, I have to get my price right because I need to make it sustainable for next 6 months. That has changed. You need to experiment with dynamic pricing and product construct and test and learn from there.
Those are very good points. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we pretty much come to the very end of this first section of the podcast interview. Are there any closing remarks or anything you'd like to cover?
Depends on, if you have more questions, I'm happy to answer. For me, I'm passionate on this space. I think insurance as a multi-trillion-dollar industry is innovating. There's a lots to be done. As I said, that we are scratching the surface. Embedded insurance is definitely the path to go ahead and path to watch. There's lots can be done in conventional product lines like life, auto, health, disrupting those product verticals. There's lots can be done from financial inclusion point of view. If we look at insurance penetration is so low, can we make products accessible as well? Not only seamless and simple, is it accessible to people who really need it? Because like lives get hampered if you don't have adequate proper insurance, and insurance still is a sell product, right? No one wakes up in the morning and says that, okay, it's a good day today, let me buy some insurance. So it's still something which is pushed. We still avoid insurance agents when we see them on the road or the MRTs. So
Yeah.
that mindset of needs to change, that insurance is something which you need for your own protection, and how we can make, as insurance professionals, make these journeys, accessibility and products simple and seamless so that people can experience the claims when there is a right time, when they need that money and need that protection at that time.
I think those are great thoughts to end the main section of the podcast. But we have a rapid fire kind of section where we fire a few questions at the guest, only with their permission, and we ask your answers in less than a minute, 60 seconds or so. So if you're ready, Arijit, we'll few your way.
Please.
Okay, here goes. So what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned in your career?
I think the ability to take on challenges and risks. I pivoted my career multiple times. I think that's the main thing. I've seen a lot of people having self-doubts as professionals, that if you're given a particular role or particular responsibility, people shy away from there. I think the most important thing is to say yes to that, then figure out how you want to do it. And it has happened to me also in the past. I think taking up challenges and pushing yourself, I think that would be my career advice.
Perfect. What would you say is the one word to describe your leadership style?
Empathy. I work with consensus with the team. And it's an interesting question because when I was starting off in my career, I was very conflicted in my mind that what should be the leadership style. Because I've seen people, in lack of better words, rude or very autocratic by leadership or nature, climbing up a corporate ladder very fast.
Yeah.
And I've always thought myself, do I need to become that person in order to succeed?
Yeah.
And then I realized that I'm not that person naturally, right? So if I'm not that person, let me be a better version of myself or how I am, which is more a friendlier, consensus-driven leader, and work with the team to achieve a particular goal. And that's where I think I try to do that.
Fantastic. I think I've had similar issues in my career as well. And I'm very keen to make it clear to people that nice people can also succeed. But it's not about me, it's about you. So let's put it. What would you say is a favorite city for you to travel? Business or pleasure?
Actually, it's your city you are dialing from. I love Dubai. I like the interest which has come to Dubai in the last 4 or 5 years. It's booming, right? In terms of people, infrastructure, financial. I have my few friends out of Singapore who has recently relocated to, Dubai, Abu Dhabi or the Saudi region. And good food, everything is great. It's one of the cities I really enjoy when I visit there.
Fantastic. And the last one from my side, before we go to Vidya, what book, blog, or podcast or documentary that you recommend the most?
On this part, actually, I'm more intrigued to spirituality than business. So I follow Guru. I'm currently reading Death by Sadhguru. I just finished a book called Code of Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhani and Think Like a Monk like Jay Shetty. So I'm intrigued by what you can do with your subconscious mind, inner power, and spirituality, how you can evolve as a person from an holistic basis, right? So I'm fascinated on that. So I tend to follow podcasts or TED Talks or blogs, which are more related to that sort of area.
Perfect.
Nice.
Over.
From my side, what's the most exciting tech innovation in insurance that you've pressed in the recent?
I think what we are looking at, I shared what I'm seeing as a trend in the embedded insurance piece, but I will say that what we are doing with this whole thing of usage-based insurance powered by IoTs, I think that will be a game changer because you will see insurance in a very different. Insurance will get tagged along with IoT as a usage-based protection. I don't think in future people will buy a primary product and buy insurance as top-up. It will be embedded as products. And that's where the future is going towards because it's all data-driven and you need protection to do that. I think very fascinated to watch that space of how it evolves.
Yeah. And there's so much of opportunity within that. You can create green products and whatnot. So that
Definitely.
go
Definitely.
there. So who, according to you, is like the most inspiring or business leader that you really admire?
I actually don't follow like one individual. I think you can learn from a lot more. Those people are successful or not, right? There's a learning from everyone.
Yeah.
I also learn from, right, on a day-to-day basis. So from a business leader point of view, yes, there is not one individual, but I will say that take an example of Elon Musk, right? I don't believe in making a living. I believe in having a life, right? So someone like Elon Musk who is a disruptor. So a lot of entrepreneurs look up to that person as a disruptor, which I also do, but I'm not fascinated by his family or personal life, right? So that I think you need to create a holistic life. So even though I take some aspects of Elon Musk, I'll take some aspects of Sadhguru, I'll take some aspects of other people and see what works for you and then create a better version of yourself rather than following one individual with all positives and negatives. So that's how I get inspiration from everyone around me.
Great. So which one do you prefer? Prefer working from home or from office?
Actually, COVID has changed our mindset, how we look at work from home.
Yeah.
My thought process before COVID also was why work needs to start when you are going to office. I always had that mindset that work for me needs to be hybrid. It needs to be, I don't relate to the term work-life balance, is actually work-life merger. You need to plan your day accordingly. Office is a place where you need to go when you need to sit down with your colleagues to get some outcome. But if you're not getting that, you can focus a lot more at your home or somewhere else where you can focus and concentrate. And it's a botheration for you if you're in an office and everyone every day comes at you and disturbs you, right? So I feel the hybrid remote working culture works better. In Cover Genius in Asia team, we are remote working and we built a very good sustainable business being a remote working team. So I know it works. There are certain teams where you need office. Like for example, if you have a large backend tech, it's better that they're housed somewhere. It depends again on your roles and responsibility. Yeah. I feel that given how the world is evolving, I think a remote hybrid working culture is a mantra to success rather than forcing everyone to come in at some time and leaving at some time.
So what's your top priority for Cover Genius in 2024?
Two things. One is we actually now have a lot of good tier 1 partners across the APAC and APAC region. And we want to grow more with these partners. So What we have a special team whom we call growth or partner services. Everyone is tagged to a particular partner to grow those partnerships. So I think we can extract a lot of value from growing that existing partners, and then also double down on the verticals we do well to get more large global and regional partners and going after. So I don't think we are going to experiment on like new product lines or anything. We'll be more focused on growing existing book of business and knowing what we do best, replicating the model to other white space opportunities which we don't have in our balance sheet right now.
Right. Gotcha. And what's the biggest risk you've ever taken?
I'll say, and risk in the sense career-wise, I'll say that when I left my corporate role and started my entrepreneurial journey, it's a risk because I have two daughters now, but I had my elder one, I had one daughter that time. So there were family commitments and she was young, and still I decided that if I don't make the jump, I'll be quite obsolete in coming years. And I was right, given the way things have evolved and things are evolving. I know that there's a lot of my peers or people I know who have stayed back. Now they want to jump into the startup ecosystem. They are struggling to get a role and change our mindset. I think I switched at the right time. Maybe a few years earlier would have been better, but this experience and learning has taught me a lot. I've also learned with a lot of mistakes, which I keeps on making, right? That's how you learn things. And I feel that has been the biggest risk, but it's worth taking the risk, and very glad that I did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
It was awesome. I think that kind of brings us to the end of the podcast. It was a fabulous one. We learned a lot. So loved having you on. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you again, Ranjan and Vidya. Very engaging conversation, and thanks for having me in the show. And wish you all the success. I think what you guys are doing, this space is uncharted. Not many players are there as InsurTech focused podcasts, and there's a lot of interest in that. So you guys are doing a great work.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.